Happy video day, guys. So for today's video, we're going to be doing another Make Up Your Mind. So in this week's Make Up Your Mind, we're going to be searching my collection for the new Charlotte Tilbury palettes that she's releasing for the holiday. So this was kind of a surprise for me. I didn't know there was going to be more Charlotte Tilbury releasing for this holiday season, but there was 3 palettes announced, and I'm going to be finding 2 of them in my collection today and kind of giving you an idea of what they can look like. I try to do one of these every single week for you guys with a brand new launch. Search through my collection, give you guys some ideas of what the color story may look like, and then I go ahead and decide at the end of the video whether I'm going to make up my mind to purchase the item or not. And basically this is just a deciding process for me. I love to do this with every single new release. It helps me decide before I buy, and I love to share this with you guys, so maybe you guys will try this at home as well. So if you guys are excited, don't forget to subscribe, and let's go ahead and let's get right into it right now. Okay guys, so there was 3 palettes being released. Each one of these is going to be $53 US, and when is the release date? That's interesting. So they're the Hollywood Flawless Eye Filters for $53. The 3 that are being released are the Star Aurora, which I am not going to be doing in this video because I can't find any good swatches of it, and I just decided to wait on that one. There's the Diva Lights, which we will be doing, as well as Eyes of a Star, which we're going to be doing as well. So these are going to be available December 21st on the Charlotte Tilbury website and the 26th at every single retailer. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can find these. I'm going to try to give you an idea of what they may look like, and I will tell you, when I was searching through my collection, I do feel like I found a few palettes that kind of give me a very similar vibe. All of a sudden it just got like super windy outside. That was very weird. I will say that I love Charlotte Tilbury. I know a lot of people buy Charlotte Tilbury for her amazing formula, and I'm totally cool with that. I think that's amazing. So I do have a few thoughts on these 2 palettes. I will tell you, every single one of them look really pretty. The Star Aurora might be the most unique to my collection. I didn't do it. It looks like it's mostly pop colors. I personally tend to not pick up these type of palettes, especially for $53. I want some mattes in my life, and I also don't think that the color combination for me personally was one that I was really drawn to. I looked for swatches to really get like a real idea, and I couldn't find any. Decided to skip on even doing it because it just, to me, is probably not something that I would even think of picking up, just because price point versus what you're getting is not really what I want. So I ended up just doing the 2 that interested me the most, and let's start off with the first one. So I'm going to start off with the one that really gives me a very similar vibe to a certain palette, and honestly guys, I only jumped into 1 palette. In this entire video, there's only 3 palettes that I referenced. There's 4 colors in each one of these, so it's not a shocker that I had less palettes, but I will say that the color combinations are very common, in my opinion, to maybe things that you already have in your collection, so definitely look in your collection. For the first palette, the only palette I jumped into was the Wayne Goss palette. So this is his brand new release that he released this year, and I was trying to find the Diva Lights palette. Honestly, it reminded me so much of this, and so I just jumped into this palette and I said, I think I'm gonna find most of the colors in here. I think it did a pretty decent job. So let's go ahead and let's jump into the very first color. So the first color, I was reading the description from Charlotte Tilbury as well, and it calls for a champagne color. Now inside of this palette right here, there is 2 colors that are pretty champagne-y. This one actually has a little bit more rose to it. This is a little bit more champagne-y. I actually jumped into the champagne, if you guys can see. What a beautiful champagne color inside of this Wayne Goss palette. It's so beautiful. It gives you a real true champagne tone. When I was looking at the Charlotte Tilbury, I felt like it gave me this too. Charlotte tends to use this color a lot in a lot of her palettes. I don't know if you guys have noticed this yet, but I always feel like there's a color like this one in most of her palettes, especially like the larger palettes. But I'm not mad at it, because honestly I like this type of champagne gold so much more than I like a yellow gold. So I'm happy that this is a color in here. However, because that is a color that I tend to love to pick up, I tend to have a few of them already. You know what I mean? So the next color is one that I'm gonna say is a little tricky. In the swatch, it looks a little bit more orangey, but when I read the description, it does say rosy. So I just decided to go with the one in the Wayne Goss to kind of match the swatch a little bit better, and I just grabbed this color right here. Now the problem I have is this one is a little bit more terracotta. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to be more rosy pink. Now inside of the Starry Eyes to Hypnotize, there's also this color right here that has a little bit more pink in it. If you put it mixed with this color, I think it might look a little bit more like that. So maybe mixing the Starry Eyes pink with maybe even the color next to it. So like if you grab these two, so maybe that probably would have been a better option for me. If I just grab these two together and mix them together, I think you might actually have a better tone. So I went with the Wayne Goss color, but I might actually switch it to this one in the swatch. So if you guys see that I said I switched it, I think I might switch. Even though the Wayne Goss one looks a little bit closer to the swatch that was released, I do feel like it might be a little bit rosier. So I'm going to go with this color. I think it's going to look like that. Now, I will tell you, it's a very pretty color. Like if it is more like this color, it's a little bit more unique for me. If it was more of that terracotta color, I feel like Charlotte does that color a lot as well. Then when I was looking, actually the reason that I picked the Wayne Goss palette was because I remembered this color right here. This color reminds me so much of the swatch from Charlotte. However, I do think that Charlotte's is a little bit deeper. And I do remember that when Wayne Goss released this palette, he said that if you want to deepen out a color, you know, you just add a little black to it. So just playing around, I dabbed into a little bit of black, put it on top, and it just kept mixing them together. And the more and more I did that, the closer and closer I felt like I started getting to the Charlotte color. So I do feel like even adding a little bit of black to any of the tones that you may have in your collection that looks similar to like this one, you're going to create a color that looks a little bit closer to the Charlotte palette. I feel like mixing those two colors together, I feel like just adding a little bit of black to this one, I was able to mimic the Charlotte color pretty close. So it doesn't really shock me that I think this color story is pretty, because like the first three I'm like really enjoying. I think it's very pretty. The last color is just a black, and the Wayne Goss has a beautiful black. I love Wayne Goss's black. I think it's amazing. So yeah, I just pulled the black from here, and I do love Charlotte's black as well. I love that I have it in the Starry Eyes to Hypnotize as well. So I do feel like for these four colors, I was able to find them. Like I told you guys before, the only one is maybe this one right here that I used the terracotta inside of the Wayne Goss. I may have wanted to just use the Starry Eyes to Hypnotize. Now I'm also going to tell you guys this. If you have the Starry Eyes to Hypnotize, the only color that you really do not have is this brownish looking tone that I had to pull from this palette here. However, I do feel like this color story right here is giving you a very similar vibe. You're only really missing one color that is like that brownie color, and that's it. You know, all the rest of the colors are kind of in this. I love this palette. This palette is so good. I really honestly love it. So I feel like I have this color story, but let's go ahead and let's jump into the other one, because the other one also looks really pretty. Eye of a Star. This one actually honestly got my attention. Like, I'm not gonna say that it was like revolutionary for me, like, oh my goodness, I've never seen something like this from Charlotte, but I kind of drew my attention, because sometimes when you have like these mini palettes, you want stuff that you're gonna like kind of use a lot, and maybe if the colors work well together, they would make sense for you to pick up. And this looks like a color story that I really enjoy. When I started to look for it a little bit more is when I started to realize that I did have similar tones, and I just want to show you the palettes that I jumped into with the Charlotte Tilbury Starry Eyes to Hypnotize and the Mario palette. This is his brand new matte palette that he released, and when I was looking at the mattes in this palette, it really reminded me so much of this. You know, like Charlotte Tilbury tends to always have very warm mattes. I feel like she's known for very warm colors. So for this one, I jumped into the Charlotte Tilbury palette for this color right here. If you read the description, it does say that it's like a champagne-y gold, and and this color here gives me like a champagne gold color. From the swatch, I think it's going to be pretty close to this one. Now I'm going to tell you that the color difference between this one and this one, it's not like it's very different. Like, I feel like when you put these colors on the lid, even though the tone might have a slight difference to them, I don't know if it's going to impact it like that much that I'm going to be able to tell a difference, really. So really, I feel like in both of these palettes, this champagne-y color might be close enough that if you buy one, you might not want to be looking at the other. So far, it's close. Like, if this would have been like a completely different color, or even like a white, maybe it would have been different, but because it's also a champagne gold, I don't know how different it could really look on the lid. So the next one, what I did was I jumped into this color, which is like an ambery looking color in the Starry Eyes to Hypnotize. I love this color. It's one of the colors I use the most inside of Starry Eyes, and as you guys just finished seeing, it is the color that I mixed with the pink color next door to kind of create the other palette. This color is absolutely stunning. It is more of an amber tone. I read on the description that it's more of a metallic amber. Do I think it's gonna? I think it's gonna look kind of similar to this color, beautiful color. Love it with the champagne. I think they're both very, very beautiful colors. You have an inner corner highlight. You also have a color you can use all over the lid. So far, it's going in a very pretty direction. Is it one that I feel like I need to spend the money on? At this point, I'm thinking no. Then the other two colors, I love Charlotte's mattes. I really, really do. I think she makes the most beautiful mattes. And this palette, I honestly could not find the colors in Charlotte's palettes that I own. I actually had to jump into the Mario palette. And what I did was I jumped into this brown right here. I feel like it's going to be a softer brown, but it's going to have a little orangey to it, so it's going to have some warmth. I picked this one because it just reminded me the most of the swatch. Obviously, I swatched over like 2 times because you have to like build up the color when it comes to the Mario palette, but I do feel like it's going to have a very similar coloration to the mattes in this palette. What I did for the next color, which is the brown, is I jumped into this one right here because it's not as deep as this brown here, and when I was looking at the swatch, it didn't look as deep. Like, I read in the description that it was like a darker brown, but when I was looking at the swatch, I was like, that doesn't look that deep. So I just grabbed this one. Now, if I had to make this one deeper, I would just grab a little bit of this brown here, but I think it's gonna look more like this. This brown is actually really, really nice. I love it. I do think maybe Charlotte's might be a little warmer, but it matched pretty good to the swatches. So that's why I ended up just saying, you know what, I'm just gonna stay with that one. Now, looking at this palette, I honestly think this color story is so easy to use, so beautiful, very within like Charlotte Tilbury, very easy to use, very pretty, but I don't feel like this color story is extremely unique in any way. Like, I do feel like there's other Charlotte palettes that I don't own that you may have both of these color stories already in, and you should check your Charlotte Tilbury palettes because this is something I have seen from her multiple times. Maybe one color has a very slight difference than the color that you might have in your palette, but just think of it on your lids and whether it is really going to make that big of a difference for you. And most of the time when I have to do that, I usually end up saying I don't think it will. So even though these colors are not the same inside of both of these palettes, the looks that you're going to create are going to be semi-similar. So what I would personally say is if you like either one of these, I would buy one of them because I feel like everybody has a black in their collection unless you really want Charlotte's black. But if you have a black in your collection, I feel like the only thing that's going to really differentiate the difference between these two palettes is that black. Adding a little black to the look is going to deepen things and maybe make one look a little deeper than the other. But like just looking at them together, I'm like, I don't know if they're super different from each other to warrant picking up both. Now, the other thing is if you have any of the other Charlotte palettes, definitely look into them because I do feel like this is a very typical color story of hers. I wish this would have gone like in a very plum direction or something hunter green or something very different from what she has been currently releasing, and I think it would have gotten me a little bit more excited. So for right now, I'm definitely going to say I'm going to make up my mind on both of these and say I'm not going to be picking up either one. I just personally just don't think that the colors were enough for me to say, yes, I need you. I don't have a problem with paying the price tag if I really feel like, oh my goodness, I really need those colors. And I also just want to say, if you have this palette right here, look into this palette just a little bit before you decide to buy this, because I do feel like even if you have to mix one or two of these colors together to create that perfect color, I feel like this one has a very similar vibe. Like the vibe here is very similar. And also this palette right here has a very similar vibe. So after looking at both of these, honestly, I'm just looking at them and thinking, you know, maybe the one that was the most unique for me would have been the one I didn't do. But I have to also be true to the fact that if I don't feel like I want a whole Pops palette, why even try to find it? Because I just don't really feel like I would even want that. Like, I just don't need it, you know? So yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave it, guys. I personally just don't feel like either one of these are for me. But that being said, I love the color stories of both of them. Very easy to use, very, very beautiful color combinations, very simple if that's what you're looking for. I think the better route to go with Charlotte is just waiting for one of these big palettes because I just feel like you get so much more for your money, you know? But anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed this Make Up Your Mind. Let me know down below which other palettes you guys want me to do. We're getting close to the end of the year and oh my goodness, I can't believe that it's gonna be 2021. So I do know some releases are starting to slow down just a tad when it comes to new eyeshadow palettes. So if there's any palettes you guys want me to do, leave them down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you have not already. And yep, I'll talk with you guys later. Bye.